Hello and welcome to Serial at Midnight. My name is Heath and I have a book review for you guys for the book Constance by Matthew Fitzsimmons. This is a Wall Street Journal best-selling author, and this is actually it's a press copy. It's my advanced reader copy, so I could review it. Constance is available now, and it's a super interesting book. It's science fiction, but it's a very relatable science fiction to the world that we're living in right now. It actually takes place just a little bit in the future, about 20 years in the future, and it's not like the Jetsons, right? I'm telling you, it's very relevant to where we are now as far as what's going on with corporations, what's going on with the wage divide. I mean, the world that this thing paints is super believable, and it is essentially a story about cloning and about identity. It's hard to talk about books, to review books, without spoiling anything, without keeping the plot as secret as possible. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to tell you just a little bit, maybe the hook of the book, right? So Constance is our lead character. She's in her 20s. She's kind of adrift, she's finding herself. She's been through a trauma. And she has inherited through a family member the ability to be cloned, the means to be cloned. And in this reality, which again feels super believable, cloning exists, but it's only available for people with many, many, many millions of dollars. So you've got that wage gap, right? So only the elites even have the option of cloning themselves. And the way that you do it is you go into this facility and they kind of they basically download you, right? But you're still you, but they're backing up your brain so that you can, whenever that, when the eventuality of your death occurs, they have the freshest information to put into the clone. And the download is done often, right? So our character Constance, not in a great headspace. She goes in for her update, right? And then kind of goes to sleep and wakes up, and the perspective has switched. We've switched to her as the clone. And we're like, wait a minute, her conscience is in the clone. How did this happen? What happened to my original? Where is the time? Why has it's 18 months later? She has no memory because there were no backups over that 18 months. Where did those months go? What happened? Why were there no backups? Because there was so long in between the backup and the clone coming online, for lack of a better word, there are problems with the clone. There's, like rejection problems. And therein starts the real heart of the story, which is, who am I? What happened to me? And then they also kind of, the story plays with what makes us who we are. The spirit, the soul, or the body. If the body is gone but the mind remains, who are you? Were you the body or were you the mind? And it touches on so much. I mean, there's like commentary on, it's not like you're not being bludgeoned to death with a message, but it just really feels relevant in terms of politics, race, the way that corporate, because now like 5 corporations own everything. They really do. Like, you've got a couple of entertainment companies, a couple of gas companies, and a couple of pharmaceutical companies that pretty much run the entire world. What's that going to look like in 20 years? This book seems to have an idea about that. It's fascinating. If you're familiar with like Cyberpunk 2077 or something like that, it's not that apocalyptic. It's not quite so bleak or so dire. It really feels a lot like the world outside the door just a few years later. So it's got elements of mystery in it. It's got investigation. It's got, again, it is science fiction. It is for sure science fiction. It's got a great quote on the back of the book from Greg Rucka. Now, Greg Rucka, I know him as a comic book writer. He is one of the he's one of those trusted voices of comics. And he does other things as well. But he says Constance is a blistering, balletic read, silky smooth world building that effortlessly grounds a wonderful, harrowing tale of mystery, suspense, identity, friendship, and redemption. This is, for all its twists and turns and tricks, a novel that does what a novel should. Examines what makes us human after all. Genuinely one of the best books I've read in a long, long time. Well, I'm reading that to you because I think Greg Rucka said it pretty well. It is very interesting. It's not something that's necessarily a breezy, thoughtless read. It calls into, like, you're questioning things. You're questioning things about the world we live in now. And I think that's what science fiction should do. I actually think science fiction has a responsibility to reflect the world back at us. And science fiction can, look at Star Trek, right? The original, well, all Star Trek. But I'm thinking specifically of the original because that's where my heart is. It allows us to tackle really complicated issues and to see ourselves just a little bit outside of ourselves. We can, by changing character names, we're not quite so close to it, and it can show us things about who we are that might not be comfortable. That's exactly what Constance does. So Matthew Fitzsimmons is the author. Constance is the book, and this is now available. If you're interested in picking this up, I'll put a link in the description of this video. You can just click straight through and order it via that link, and you'll be supporting Serial at Midnight as well. So guys, take care. Until next time, I will catch you later.